Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode, of the Double A Team Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Nagishi. With me, as always, is my co-host from Awful Announcing, the associate editor of the Awful Announcing Sports blog, Keng Fang. Ken, good evening. How are you tonight?
Good, Stephen. Good to be on with you. We have a lot of things. This is a great time of year. You've got college basketball. You've got baseball starting. You got the Masters coming up later on next month. But a lot of things coming up. Men's and women's college basketball. You've got the NBA and NHL getting ready for their playoffs. And like I said, Major League Baseball starting this week. So it's a lot of fun. So we got a lot of things to discuss.
Absolutely. Let's get on with it. Of course, the NCAA tournament begins this week. The tournament fields are finally set now, and I'm about to share some. Hold on a second. A printable bracket for us to have a good look at the brackets right now. So here it is. You can see from CBSSports.com right now. We have the first four playing, the 11th seed, and then also the 16th seed right now, which is put together by bracket expert Jerry Palm of CBSSports.com. So, Ken, any surprises you see from the committee selection?
Yeah, well, of course, everyone's talking about it. Of course, North Carolina, which got in. And of course, Xavier getting in as well. Those two I did not expect to get in. Indiana and West Virginia were probably the teams that should have gotten in. Everyone's talking about the quad one win the only quad one win that North Carolina had. They were 1-12 against top teams this season. Really should not have gotten in. I mean, they did play Duke very well in the ACC semifinal on Friday in the ACC tournament. They were down multiple point double digits and then got it down to 1 point. And then, of course, a lane violation stopped. Really, when you get down to that, it's really a tough way to lose. But North Carolina played its heart out in the semifinal. But, once they lost that, you really didn't think that there would be any chance for North Carolina to go in. If you were, no matter who you were, whether you were Jerry Palm or Joe Lunardi, whatever bracketologist you believed, it was going to be North Carolina as one of the last teams out. But instead, they were one of the teams that got in, and they're going to be playing in the first four. I think it's going to be Wednesday night. It's actually tomorrow night. They're going to play tomorrow night. They're actually having trouble getting into Dayton. They're kind of delayed. So a lot of people are saying ball don't lie in that situation. But I will say that I don't think they were deserving to get in. There was someone who on Blue Sky tried to argue with me. And I'm saying, you have no argument. I don't understand. And so whether you watched John Rothstein last night on CBS Sports Network on Inside College Basketball, whether you watched the Duke apologists Jay Bilas and Jay Williams last night on ESPN attacking, and really, even though I joke about their Duke apologists, they were right about that. North Carolina should not have been in the tournament. Those are the two that I thought, and also the seeding by the committee was also very bad. This committee is just, once they had those two, and they also misseeded Michigan and Wisconsin, a whole bunch of teams in the Big Ten, also 14 teams on the SEC. I don't agree with that, Stephen. There's way too many teams. I know people say that the SEC is the best conference this season, and I agree with that. But I don't think you should get 14 teams and a couple of teams that have had losing conference seasons. So I don't agree with that at all. So I would have preferred a couple of more at-large teams coming in from the mid majors. But again, we always complain about the committee seating. I think there's just a few times which I've agreed with their seatings and how they get it right. This committee was just wrong and all to begin with. And of course, today the governor of West Virginia was standing at a podium today with calling it and saying the NCAA stood for the National Corrupt Athletic Association. I understand his anger, but he's got more important things to worry about like the economy of his state than actually trying to pass a law in regards to the NCAA. So in any event, those are my complaints about the fields, and we always do this on the Monday after the selection is made. But this committee, I'm not going to call it corrupt, but I just think that they just did a really bad job this year.
Well, it really doesn't help because one of the committee chair, Bubba Cunningham, is from University of North Carolina, of course, and the fact that there is an incentive for him, excuse me, to make the tournament. So
well, I'll say this: anytime that and this has been stressed a lot. Anytime that they discuss North Carolina or the school that any committee member is on, he has to leave. That person's got to leave the room.
Right. But here's the thing. I understand that they have to leave the door or, cannot be in the same room while the discussion is taking place. But, there's always a possibility that, wink, wink, that's kind of already set in stone, because when you have a chairman like Bubba Cunningham from that specific university, that's, a blue blood school. Let's be real. North Carolina, Duke, UCLA. I'm probably missing out on several. Kentucky. I apologize. Yes, Kentucky's of the world. They're always going to be a popular blue blood program with so much history and prestige, especially in the tournament time. So to not have North Carolina in the tournament, despite its less than stellar, resume, and then you have a chairman that is in the committee, even if he's not involved in it, you kind of have a feeling that that's kind of already set in stone, and that's not going to sit well with schools like West Virginia, Indiana, and Georgia's of the world, who may have a better resume, who wins over top ranked teams, quad one teams, etc. So I understand the sentiment that even if Bubba Cunningham's of the worlds are not in the room when they were having discussions, you kind of have a feeling it was already maybe predetermined, don't you think?
No, I don't go predetermined, but I just don't think that the committee. I don't think the committee thought hard enough. And I think they and every year it seems like the criteria is different, Stephen. They said, well, because even though they didn't have a good quad one rating, they weighted more towards quad two games, which are on neutral court, and then quad three, which is, I don't agree with that. I don't think it's predetermined. I do think the fact that, I'm not going to go with the conspiracy theory. I'm not going to go with the fact that even though Cunningham was there as the chairman, I'm not going to say that there was also he got a monetary incentive for getting his team in. I just do think that the committee, probably maybe the fact that he bought them a nice meal, maybe there was a quid pro quo there. But I'm not going to say that this was predetermined. I just think it was a very bad decision by the committee to consider North Carolina. They never should have been considered. They said, I think they said, if one of the, I think it was based on actually the American Athletic Association, it was determined that way. It was said that if one team if the team that eventually won the American Athletic Association tournament, they said that brought in North Carolina. Well, that shouldn't have weighted them at all, because you just should have just said, hey, look, they are 1-12 in quad one wins. They only have one quality win over a top 20 team. You can't go that. You can't go there. Indiana had a better record. West Virginia had a better record against quad one teams. You have to weight that more. And granted, yes, they're both from Power 5 conferences, but one of those two has to get in over North Carolina. It just has to be. You just can't allow that. And I'm not I don't think it's predetermined, but I just think it was the fact that the committee did a very bad job in considering that and weighing a different factor, an extenuating factor. And every year it's different. The teams try to, and the schools and the coaches try and match what the committee wants to do. Now, is it going to be trying to match next year? They say, okay, let's do more tournament games. Let's do more neutral games instead. and instead next year it's going to be a different criteria. So I think that's the problem. I think that's a main thing. That every year is a different criteria, and the committee does a bad job in trying to give the schools a different message each and every year.
By the way, I apologize. I might have gotten a cold from somebody at work, unfortunately, so I'm kind of battling through it, early stages. So I'll try and keep my coughing minimum or muted while I'm talking, or at least you're talking. So I apologize to everybody listening tonight. Well, this is obviously going to give, a committee, NCAA, and even the TV rights holders a good excuse to add the more teams. And we talked about the tournament expansion with our good friend Roy White, who was a former host down in Dallas with 105.3 The Fan. He was not in I don't think we were kind of enamored with the idea of expanding it too much, but of course leaving North Carolina out of it certainly obviously would have strengthened the excuse for not having a prestigious program like North Carolina making the tournament, or at least make an argument that okay, we need to expand the tournament further, to give more maybe blue bloods or maybe blue blood program a incentive to kind of rescue them into more of a postseason. Of course, this was something of a similar argument being made on the college football level too, because they want to bring in more SEC and the Big Tens of the world into the college football playoff matchups as they looking to expand further. So, you have Indiana, Georgia, and then, West Virginia's, who play in the, big major conferences who are being missed out. So now you're talking about, okay, it's time we expand the tournament from 68 to 74, 76, whatever the number that they're thinking of. So I think, they're kind of laying a groundwork for an eventual postseason tournament expansion, obviously with the West Virginia governor making so much fuss about it. And like you said, I agree, there's so many things to be more concerned about in that state or anywhere else, whoever is the, whichever politician, I should say, making qualms about it, regardless of, which party he or she belongs to, of course. But I think now that there is a legitimate excuse being laid down for, for another expansion. Don't you think, Ken?
Well, it all depends on what, and actually, what's interesting is that Louis Silberwasser, who is the president of TNT Sports, has said that he's not necessarily in favor of it. So I would think that causes a lot of weight too, because and while the Big Ten and the SEC definitely want it, you have to have partners who are willing to tango with you, and ESPN, in regards to the college football playoff, knew that this is going to happen and basically had expansion. I think there's a clause to expand the tournament eventually to 16 is what, and for the college football playoff is what we'll see there, definitely. But I think in regards to the NCAA tournament, there's some pushback from the TV partners, and that's going to carry a lot of weight. The NCAA, I know the Big 12, I mean, not the Big 12, but the Big 10 and the SEC want more of their teams in. And the SEC, yes, they got 14 teams in, which also took away from the mid-majors. But I really do think that if TNT Sports, which, and they're going to need inventory, and you would think that they'd be all in favor of it because they're going to lose the NBA next season, Stephen. But they said that, look, we kind of like the way it is right now. So if they're the ones that push back on it and they and CBS say no, then you're not going to see expansion. So I think that as much as the NCAA, I don't think the NCAA necessarily wants it. It's the SEC and the Big 10 that do. And if they get pushback, then it's not going to happen. So I think that we have to see what, and Louis Silberwasser was on with John Moran on puck.com. On the part of the Varsity podcast. I was listening to that, and Louis Silberwasser was he didn't necessarily like the idea. So I would say that if TNT Sports, which is paying 70% of the NCAA contract with CBS, says no, you're not going to see it happen.
Right. Well, it's going to be very interesting to see how the whole tournament now plays out, moving forward. Now that North Carolina somehow got in with a favorable, pass from the search committee. All right, here we go. Let's look at the tournament itself. Let's start with the South region. Auburn is number one. They're not the number one overall. Duke got it overall. I'm sure the Auburn's loss over the weekend to not winning the SEC really hurt their chances there. But let's see. Whoever comes out, the 16th seed from the South, this is just an easy feast over for Auburn to get ready for a matchup between UCLA and UConn, the defending champion. Ken, how do you like this one?
I would like to see UConn. People are down on Dan Hurley. I am not, because he coached my URI team, so I'm very happy. I like to see Dan Hurley a lot. I don't think they're going to win this. They did play a little bit decently in the Big East tournament. They were defeated by Creighton in the semifinals. So they had a lot of injuries this season. Plus, they've lost a couple of their players to the NBA. I don't see UConn advancing past the second round this season.
Okay, so it's UCLA for you then.
Yeah, I would say UCLA. I mean, UCLA. Okay. I mean, UCLA is coming out of the Big Ten. I see that the UConn definitely not advancing this year. I could be wrong. Dan Hurley is a very good coach, but I don't see UConn getting past the second round.
Okay. Even I'll pick UConn, but I think Auburn should have an easy time with UConn. Marquette, McNeese State out of LSU, Louisiana. I'm going to pick Marquette, but the storyline, of course, is with McNeese State is their student manager, Amir Khan, who have been blowing up on the social media circuit there, who just recently signed 3 NIL deals by himself. I don't know, Ken, if you've been following Amir Khan and his rise to fame and stardom there.
I have not. I mean, I heard Seth Davis mention a little bit during the. I didn't know what the story was, but yeah, it's interesting. McNeese, they advance into the tournament. Marquette, coming out of the Big East, Shaka Smart is their coach. Of course, he's well experienced. He's coached with, of course, Virginia Commonwealth. Had a deep run when he was there. And of course, he brought Texas out of the Big 12 when they were in the Big 12. I'm going to have to say, I will say, I think Texas is one of the weaker SEC teams this season. I'll say McNeese in an upset.
Okay, so you like McNeese in the traditional 5 versus 12 then. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oregon, Akron. I'll pick Oregon. I know Akron is a well-coached team by John Gross, who got fired from Illinois, landed back to the mid-major type conference in Akron, have made it out of the MAC several years in a row now. I think Oregon has good of a talent, and I'm going to pick Oregon here. Memphis playing the 11th seed, whoever comes out of the East. South. So Indiana, Boise State. I think Memphis has a good shot out of this one, no question. Texas Tech, Troy. I think we're in agreement. This is a Texas Tech out of here, right?
Yeah, Texas Tech is they're a very good team, Stephen. I think out of the SEC, I think they have a very good. I think they'll take this one easily.
Okay. Missouri. I'll pick the Missouri to come out of here, and of course Michigan out of here. Okay, so Auburn, UConn, or UCLA. It's Auburn for us, right?
Yeah, I'll take Auburn. Auburn has had a very good season at the SEC. Bruce Pearl is coaching them. He joked on CBS Sports Network last night that he's always used to being the 8th seed or some other lower seed, so he's not used to having everybody going gunning for him. But he's got his team playing really well. The Tigers, War Eagle. I'll go with Auburn.
All right, so they make it to the Sweet 16. Oregon, McNeese State. I'll pick Oregon here. Texas Tech, Memphis. This is going to be a very interesting 3-6 matchup. But will you agree Texas A&M will come out of this one in a close one?
Yeah, I'll say Memphis. You know, you got Penny Hardaway coaching that team. And
Yep.
Memphis is alma mater. He's done a very good job over there. You know,
Right.
and
His alma mater. His alma mater. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I really think he's done a fantastic job. But I think Texas A&M will take that game.
2-7 Michigan, Missouri State. I'll pick Tom Izzo. I think Missouri has done a great job resurrecting themselves. 0-18 in SEC last year. This year, they really had some nice wins over ranked opponents recently. So, but I think Michigan State's tournament experience and prowess will win them over. All right, Sweet 16, Auburn, Oregon. This is a tough one, but I'll go Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn. I hate to do chalk on this one, but Auburn is a really tough team. So I think they're gonna advance over Oregon.
Okay. Texas Tech, Michigan State. I'll go Michigan State.
Yeah, Tom Izzo. This is his best team in a very long time. They could have easily been a number 1 seed. They're number 2 this year. I will choose. I'll take the Spartans.
Okay. And then Auburn, Michigan State. Is it Auburn for you?
No, I'll take Michigan State.
Okay. I'll go Auburn from this one. You know, I know it's a simple, number 1 seed coming out, but I just think that Auburn is well coached. And then they got some experience, players. Chad Mazzara, is a very experienced and, good player. I think he will rise to the occasion for Auburn here. Let's go East here. Duke, number 1, there's no question. Gonzaga, Oklahoma. I'm going to pick Gonzaga to come up because of their tournament prowess. Do you agree with that?
Well, what's interesting is that they didn't have a very good season. They got swept by St. Mary's in the regular season, including the first loss to them at home. But they did defeat St. Mary's in the West Coast tournament, so they got the automatic qualifier. I'm as much as I love Mark Few and what he's been doing and with that great program with the Zags, I'm going to say Oklahoma will take it. We'll take this game.
Okay, good. And Duke, Oklahoma, you have definitely Duke coming out of there.
Duke, this is the East. The East is a Duke Invitational. I really don't see anyone defeating Duke. And whenever Cooper Flagg decides to come in, they don't really. I don't think that John Shire needs to play him in the first round game. He may not even need to play him in the second round game. I know Oklahoma is a much difficult matchup, but you need to rest Cooper Flagg, and I know that he's probably going to be a one and doneer for Duke. But I'm going to have to say that this is. I think Duke will easily get to I'll say Duke goes to the Final Four. You don't even have to ask me anything else. I think I'm putting Duke all the way to the Final Four.
Okay, that's good. Purdue, Drake, Iowa State, Yale. Do you give any of the lower seeds any shot against them?
I do think Yale has a good chance. Yale's going to the second consecutive. They beat Brown last year and they won again in the IU this year. I think they have a very good shot to getting to the round of 32.
Correct me, Ken. This is Mans. Okay, I was looking at I was thinking maybe am I looking at the wrong one or a women's one? I apologize there.
That's
all
okay.
Right. Yeah, because I was panicking myself. All right. Clemson 6, VCU, Michigan, Robert Morris.
I'll say that Michigan will have a tough game with Robert Morris, although the man who was named the college that's named after Robert Morris, he's in a little bit of trouble. We won't have to go into that. What was the other game that you said? I think that has a good Virginia Commonwealth. I think VCU will have a chance for an upset there.
Okay. I'm doubling right now myself because I think I was looking at the wrong one.
No, you're right. This is you have the men's.
Yeah. This is not a right one. I apologize there, Ken. I am so sorry for misleading you there for this whole period. I apologize there. No, let me pull up one from Google.
No, you had it right. You had the right matchup. I remember. I'm going off memory. I think you had the right matchup.
Okay, so here we go. This is first round, I believe, from the East. Okay,
yeah, you had it right. You had it right.
Is it though?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, Virginia. Yeah, this is all the men's. The women's is all different.
This is
they,
this is the women's. Okay.
no. You had it right. The women's have two different. They're playing. They have two different. They have two regional sites. So you're absolutely right. This is the correct one. You have the men's. You're right.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at the wrong one because Michigan is a 5 seed, even though they won Big Ten tournament yesterday. So that was kind of a weird one.
Like I said, they were misseeded. They shouldn't have been seeded that low.
Yeah. Anyway, so Auburn will face the 16 seed, though they'll come out of here. Creighton, Louisville. This is an interesting matchup. 8-9 seed. I believe Louisville is actually playing in Lexington.
They are
home of Kentucky, which obviously find it a little bit interesting. I'm going to pick Creighton here. You know what? Since we already said Auburn will come out of this one, I said Auburn will come out of here, and you said Michigan State, correct?
Yeah, I said Michigan State. I'll take Michigan State.
No problem. All right, so there's that. Okay, so let's see. Let's look at the another one here. Another interesting one is Kansas, Arkansas in this matchup here.
Yeah, so that's in Providence, Steven.
Versus Bill Self.
Yeah, so you've got that part, Arkansas and Kansas and Omaha and St. John's. That's in Providence. So you got Bill Self taking on John Calipari in that matchup, and the other one there is Rick Pitino, who of course coached him.
He got his coaching start at Providence, right?
Yeah, he did. He came to Providence and took him to the Final Four with Billy Donovan back in 1987. The Providence College is still living off that year. I hate Providence College. I went to URI. That's our main rival. So I'm a Rick Pitino hater by trade. So just because of the rivalry, just don't scroll down yet. Let me just tell you interesting about this. So now, if St. John's goes and they should defeat Nebraska Omaha, which is I believe out of the Summit League. So you're going to have, let's say Arkansas wins. That's a matchup, and the committee has a sense of humor sometimes about this. For the longest time, when Kentucky and Louisville weren't playing, they would try to finagle Kentucky and Louisville to play, and they finally got it back in 1985, I believe, 1984. So this one would be a potential second-round matchup if Arkansas defeats Kansas. Now, of course, Kentucky defeated Kansas back in the final a few years ago. So that's a rematch between those two coaches there, between Bill Self and John Calipari. Let's say the 10 seed Arkansas defeats Kansas in that matchup in Providence. That would be a matchup between John Calipari and Rick Pitino, who are good friends, and of course Calipari was once on Pitino's staff. So they're good friends. And Pitino was the one who recommended John Calipari go to UMass when he had Vincent Canby, and of course went to the Final Four.
Marcus Canby at UMass, right? UMass.
Yeah. So of course that's been vacated because of recruiting violations. So that allegedly never happened. But it'll be interesting. Providence is the Federal Hill, which is a lot of Italian food over there, Stephen. Both that Pitino and Calipari are going to be loving that. It's going to be quite an interesting pod over there because we've got that CBS has put that in prime time already. They've already chosen that for prime time on Thursday. So that game between Kansas and Arkansas is going to be at 7:00. The second game will be at about 9:50. So that's the St. John's and Nebraska Omaha. That no matter who wins that Arkansas Kansas game, and of course, if St. John's gets the job done and goes and defeats Nebraska Omaha, that CBS is going to put that. They have a quadruple header on Saturday. That Providence game is going to be the late game on Saturday. You just know it, Stephen. So I just happened. And by the way, Andrew Catalan, Steve Lapis, and Evan Washburn will be calling that game. It'll be a fun time in Providence. It's the first time that the NCAA tournament has been in Providence since 2016. Yep. They were supposed to be here in 2020 during COVID. I went to the games in 2016. I unfortunately won't be able to go to the games this year, But
Uh-huh.
Providence has always been a great site for the NCAA. Yeah, it's hosted a couple of Eastern regionals back in the 1970s. So
Yep.
it's been a great site for the NCAA. The NCAA loves the arena, which is formerly known as the Providence Civic Center. It's now known as the Amica Mutual Pavilion. So that site's going to be a lot of fun for CBS when they go there Thursday and Saturday.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me get a better one. I apologize. I know we're spending meaningless hours going through this. I apologize. This is all right. So let's look at this one. So
You went to the NCAA site. Okay, that's good. That's fine.
that's better. That's better, of course. All right. So let me see here. Boy, I got to tell you, somebody's already picking Michigan UCSD. I know Seth Davis said this is an upset special here.
Yeah, Seth
Michigan,
Davis.
Michigan underseeded, even though they beat Maryland. They won in the Big Ten tournament over Wisconsin in a low-scoring battle there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this that and another one. This is another upset alert special here too. Texas A&M against Yale.
Yeah, I'll take Yale. I'll take Yale. I did say Texas A&M. Yale has a great chance to win, but I'll take the Aggies in that.
Okay, I'll take UCSD here. So versus Yale in this one. Iowa State over Lipscomb. Okay, this is an easy one. Iowa State will come out of this one. Marquette, New Mexico. Okay, well, this is a first one. Okay, I take Auburn. You take Michigan State.
Yeah, I'll take Auburn. I'll take Michigan State in that one. I like Tom Izzo's team. I think they'll have a chance to go to another Final Four, and I think they're going to be a very tough. They're going to be a tough out, Stephen. I think the Spartans have a great chance against Bruce Pearl's team. They have a very good defensive team. They play that very tough Midwestern style in the Big Ten is known for. So I'll take Michigan State over Auburn in the regional final.
Okay. Here in this bracket, Duke. Is it Duke? Pretty much everybody else, like you said.
Yeah, I think Duke is going to win it. We don't even have to go over the East. I'll take Duke.
Okay. Yeah, I think Cooper Flag will sit out until the second round, and I think he'll make his return around Sweet 16. Elite Eight, I think it will be Duke versus Alabama. That's going to be a good matchup, but I think Duke with Cooper Flag back in the lineup will be very, very tough to beat. All right.
Yeah.
Let's move down here. Sorry about that. Let me move down here for a second. Okay, so on this left-hand side, Florida is number one here. And then you got UConn and Oklahoma facing each other, of course. So it's a different one, the one that we were looking at.
Yeah,
Florida
on that one. Okay. Yeah, I'll take UConn over Oklahoma there. And I'll take on Florida, but I'm going to say because UConn is undermanned, I'll say Florida wins the second round.
Yep. Okay, Maryland, Grand Canyon, Colorado, Memphis. Memphis versus Maryland for me. I hate Maryland, so much because I'm an Illinois fan, and every time Illinois faces them, they get blown out. It's embarrassing. But I have to say Maryland will probably come out of here and then play the Florida in the Sweet 16 here. Okay, so this is the one that we were just going over. St. John versus Arkansas, Kansas. Do you have St. John's going out of here because they're a higher seed and well coached? Do you think?
Yeah, well, Kansas is an enigma, Stephen. They didn't have a very good season. They lost in the second round of the Big 12 tournament this year. They usually
they're very, very underachieving.
Yeah, Bill Self hasn't adjusted to the NIL era as of yet. John Calipari continues to use his one and doneers. He's taken that from his philosophy from Kansas to Arkansas. I would say that you know what I'm gonna and St. John's has had a very good year. I'm gonna say John Calipari with the 3-point shooting that he has with Arkansas. I say they'll pull the upset and advance to the regional. They'll advance over to the Sweet 16.
Okay. So you're going to pick Arkansas to put it all together. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
All right. So Arkansas, I'm going to pick Texas A&M. I'm sorry, Texas Tech. I'll pick, I'll pick
I'll
Drake.
Drake.
I saw them.
I'll pick
Yeah.
Drake. Yep.
Drake, Texas and Texas Tech. I think I'll go with Texas Tech out of here. So it's Texas Tech.
I'll say Drake because we needed some upsets there. So I'll say Drake goes to the Sweet 16 against Arkansas.
Okay. Okay. And do you still have Arkansas going through the Elite Eight there?
You know what? I do. You know what? I hate Florida so much. This is what I hate Florida, but I hate John Calipari even more. But I'll take John Calipari because he's just too good of he's a tournament tested coach. He knows what to do. So I think that Calipari will find a way to get the Arkansas team to the Final Four. I know it's far fetched.
Okay.
I think they'll go to the Final Four. That's how crazy it is.
Okay. I'll take Florida out of here. I think Florida will beat Maryland, and then I'll beat Florida, whoever comes out of the lower seed here. Okay. Finally, on the left, right-hand side here, Houston is the number 1 seed here. Boy, this is going to be an easy one for Houston out of here against SIU Edwardsville. Gonzaga, Georgia, is in the tournament, so I apologize there. I'm going to pick Gonzaga to come out of there because of their tournament experience. Houston, Gonzaga. I'll take Houston. I think Houston's way too good and too talented.
I'll take Georgia because I don't think that Gonzaga, even though they put it together in the West Coast tournament, West Coast Conference tournament, I'll say Georgia will take it and they'll take on Houston.
All right. And Houston, whoever we pick here will be the Sweet. Houston will be the Sweet 16. Clemson, McNeese State. Okay, I'll go McNeese State here.
I'll take McNeese.
Purdue, High Point. I'll take Purdue.
High Point.
Yeah. Illinois will face the winner of Xavier, Texas. I'm a biased Illinois fan who have been very frustrated with this team up and down this year. I pray that this team, as long as they're healthy and their head is in the right place, I pick whoever comes out of here. Kentucky, Troy, I'll pick Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky.
Okay. UCLA, Utah State, I'll go UCLA here.
UCLA, Tennessee over Wofford. Although I wouldn't be surprised. I'll say this one. I will not be surprised to see that a 15-2 upset there.
Okay, let's stick with the Tennessee, UCLA. I'll pick Tennessee out of this one. Illinois, Kentucky. Boy, this is going to be a tough one. Whoever comes out of there, I just don't think they have enough horsepower, even if it's Kentucky. I know they got a couple of players banged up and missing season. So I'll pick Tennessee if they can come out of here. Sweet 16 out of here in Tennessee. So it's Tennessee versus Houston, as expected, let's just say.
I'll say, you know what? I don't have any faith in Calvin Sampson. I really don't. Calvin Sampson has been a number 1 seed before. He was supposed to run all the way a couple of seasons, go all the way to the Final Four. They were defeated in the
16, I believe.
Yeah. I don't have any faith. I think he does this with Oklahoma. He gets his teams so ready for the regular season. And then, yes, they won the Big 12 this season. But I just don't have any faith when they get to the tournament to do it. I think that Tennessee will beat them.
All right. I'll pick Tennessee as well. So Tennessee, you have Arkansas and Florida. Let's just say for the record, Florida, Auburn, and then Duke. Pretty much, all number 1s. Let's just say all number 1s just for the sake of it. Final Four, Auburn. Oh, well, you have Auburn, Duke,
Arkansas.
Oh, I'm sorry. You have Michigan State, Duke,
Michigan
Tennessee,
State,
and Arkansas, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So
who do you pick? Who do you pick a champion out of that?
I'll take Duke.
All right.
I hate Duke. I really hate them. I really think they're evil personified. Mike Krzyzewski would just I just don't like it, but I can't see them losing this year. I really don't. They're the most complete team. They showed something when Cooper Flag was out that they didn't need him. I mean, not to say they didn't need him, but the ACC is a little bit weaker this year. But I really think that they don't need Cooper Flag until the Sweet 16, and I think that they'll cruise. It'll be similar to what UConn did the last 2 seasons, Stephen. I think that Duke will blow teams out. They will win by double digits, and I think that's what's going to happen in the Final Four. They're going to. I think they're going to take on, and what my pick would be Duke and Tennessee, and then I think they will defeat Michigan State in the final.
Okay, so for me, Florida, Tennessee, Duke, and Auburn. I will say Auburn versus Duke. Yeah, I'll pick Duke. I think this is Cooper Flag's one and done season. I think he will be rested up and ready to go. And yeah, I think this is as good of a shot as Duke will ever have in a long, long time. And if they don't win it, I think it might be a long time before Duke can actually win the title.
From your lips to here, Stephen. I really hope that Duke doesn't win another championship in 20 years. I really don't. But John Shire has done a great job in replacing Mike Krzyzewski. It's not easy to come in to replace a legend, but he's done a very good job. And he's found a way to use the portal. He's also found a way to use the one and doners, and he's got a great kid in Cooper Flag. So I wouldn't be surprised if they run all the way and run the table and go all the way to the end and win the championship. I hate to see it, but I can't. This is the Duke Invitational, Stephen. I really don't see anyone defeating Duke this year.
All right. So let's move on to baseball. I know it's like, wait, what? So the Cubs and the Dodgers open a Major League Baseball season in Japan starting tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Eastern, 5 Central, because obviously the Cubs are in Central time zone.
Right.
It will be on Fox regular, Fox television.
They'll be on Fox on Tuesday, FS1 on Wednesday at 6 a.m. Eastern, as you mentioned, 6 a.m. Eastern time. For those of you watching us in Chicago and in Los Angeles, Spectrum Sportsnet LA will have the game on there. Joe Davis will call the game. And I think that Marquee will have the game in Chicago. So the locals, the RSNs will have the game. So your local Jason Benetti will be calling it, but he is not going to be in Japan. Fox is not sending anybody. Because Jason Benetti is calling the NCAA tournament this season for Westwood One on the radio. He'll be working with Sarah Kustok of the Nets. So they're going to be calling games together. So obviously he can't go all the way to Chicago. He can't go all the way to Japan. So he'll be calling the game, I think, with AJ Brzezinski, but they'll be calling it from a studio. But I don't know if John Sciambi is going to be going out there because he called the Big 12 tournament for ESPN. So I don't know if Marquee is sending out anybody for the games either, Stephen. But I know that John Sciambi, who usually calls the games for the Cubs, I think he calls that on Marquee. He's not. I don't know if he because the Big 12 tournament was on Sunday. I don't know if he's going to be flying out there. But I know that Joe Davis is out there for Spectrum Sportsnet in LA because Ohtani's there, the Ohtani presence. So I know that they're out there. But it's going to be a great experience. I know that Ohtani has. I know a couple of the players for the Dodgers through parties for the Dodger players. They hosted parties at their homes. It was a great experience for them. And I think I saw a report tonight in the CBS Evening News that Ohtani's face is plastered all over Tokyo on ads.
Everywhere, airports, train stations, Tokyo domes, convenience stores where he sponsors one of the large tea beverages in Japan, Itoan, which nowadays you can actually buy them at the grocery stores here in Japan, here in the United States as well as Costco. Yeah, Costco too, which is one of my favorite. But he's just you'll notice the sheer presence of him and the just a huge presence and what he means to the country overall.
I think it's great, Stephen. I think it's great that, and I know that a couple seasons ago, Major League Baseball started the season in Seoul, South Korea. But I think it's great that, similar to what the NFL does with international games, at least this time they start the season out there and then let them get acclimated with a couple of exhibition games. I know they play. I think it was the Giants. Was it the Yomiuri Giants that they took on?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Then
So
Hanshin Tigers, the team from Osaka area, they beat both the Cubs and the Dodgers on back-to-back days. That was pretty impressive there, actually.
So
one of their pitchers actually was a 20-year-old kid, Mombetsu, who actually dominated the Cubs on Saturday afternoon. There, he's 20 years old. He has never pitched in the the parent club just yet. So this kid will probably make be an important part of their rotation. And then on Saturday, the guy that blanked the Dodgers, Saeki, that's the guy who will be on the World Baseball Classic team if he's healthy next year. He's the guy that who gave up a massive home run where Ohtani hit it off his split finger with his one knee down. And Saeki Saeki thought about that for 2 years straight because he was really, really angry with himself for giving up that home run. And he actually got even this time with a strikeout on that same split finger pitch that Ohtani, just scooped it up and swung all the way into the upper deck there. So, there are some, interesting cultural aspect of it. As you can see here, I'm sharing the article where the Cubs have been more active in getting Japanese players. This is an article that's talking about Jet Hoyer going there to get, say, a Suzuki and a posting. And then, Shota Imanaga that they signed last offseason as a free agent, also posting as well. It's funny, neither times that the Dodgers were not even involved in the bidding process, actually. So I know some people say, well, if the Dodgers aren't even interested, then they must not be that good of a player. But, I think, both Imanaga and the Suzuki has fit in really, really nicely with the Cubs and here in America as well. I think Imanaga has been quite candid, himself, as you probably may have seen him go by the personified Mike Imanaga, and then also, goofing around a little bit. I don't think I have seen a Japanese player who really fit in and endear himself more than Imanaga out there, So it's really nice to have him. He's going up against Yoshinobu Yamamoto in Game 1 tomorrow morning. First time in MLB history, two Japanese pitchers face each other in the opening day. Technically, it's opening day because obviously the wins and losses still do count in this one. I'm sure a lot of the people will say the ones here in America will be the real opening game and so forth. But, that's for teams who are not playing in Japan. We'll save it for that one. So, yeah, I'm very excited as a Cubs fan. I'm cautiously optimistic. The conversation came up about Kyle Tucker's free agency after this year, and the Ricketts' lack of commitment to investing and then spending money came up because we gave up a top prospect, Cam Smith, who was drafted first overall. I'm sorry, not first overall, first round by the Chicago Cubs. Now there's talks that he is about to make the team less than a year after he was drafted. And it would be so disappointing if the Cubs get, only one season out of Kyle Tucker when we gave up a lot for a young stud in Cam Smith. So, as much as I like to see the Cubs do well, there's always going to be this uneasy feeling about the lack of commitment that's coming from Tom Ricketts. And unfortunately, that's probably the theme of the season. As great of a season if the Cubs somehow win the NL Central, where does this team go from there? How far can they even go in the playoffs? Because I think we all agree that National League is for the Dodgers to lose right now.
Mm-hmm. I agree
So
with that. Yeah, I don't see the Dodgers. I mean, you have Ohtani going to be pitching this season. I don't expect him to have the same type of offensive output that he did this past season, Steven. But he's a unicorn, and when he was doing the double pitching for both when he was the two-way player for the Angels, he still managed to hit 30 home runs. So I would not be surprised to see him hit 30 home runs. He's not going to be. Uh, I don't think he's going to be stealing bases because he's going to have to protect that arm this season. I don't expect him to be stealing bases. I do think he could probably win 10 to 12 games. Dave Roberts is going to coddle him. He's not going to be pitching more than 5 innings when he starts, and of course, it'll be the DH when he's not pitching. So I expect him probably to hit. He'll still hit 30 home runs. I do think he'll have his number of strikeouts. We'll see how he pitches because, of course, he's coming off Tommy John surgery. It's not going to be. It takes it. You have to basically spend a year out from pitching. He was doing long tosses during the World Series, and so we'll see how effective he is. We've seen pitchers be effective after Tommy John surgery. But losing their velocity. So that's one thing we'll have to watch and wait and see how well because Ohtani was very good at getting strikeouts. He had good velocity. He had good movement on that fastball. We'll see if he's able to get that back. But generally, when you go to Tommy John surgery, you lose about 1 or 2 miles off your fastball, and that could be a lot, especially when you have the hitters that you have today, Steven. They're when you have the players of today who are so focused and dialed in on the fastball. When you're used to throwing 96, 97 and you're down to 94, 95, that means that even that 1 mile an hour loss can mean that the hitters can actually see the ball better. So we'll see how it happens. We'll see what happens with Ohtani this season, and it'll be quite interesting. But they're reloaded, and I really can't see them not getting to the World Series again this season.
By the way, if you're interested in learning more about the baseball in Japan and everything, I highly recommend going to The Athletic. I just found this article about the Japanese company Dentsu, which is one of the largest marketing advertising agency in Japan, if not in the world, that had a major influence in Roki Sasaki sweepstakes. Obviously, with the Dodgers kind of cornering the market in Japanese players moving forward, they're also mentioning that Dentsu also has an agenda, which obviously, with Ohtani's presence, they just want to probably wield the influence on Japanese players going to a certain team, which of course is the Dodgers. And I also have a feeling that, Rob Manfred, who happens to be there in Japan for this series this week, probably will look at the I don't want to say turn a blind eye, but, if a lot of the Japanese players end up going to Dodgers and Dodgers only pretty much, then you will know why, because they are being represented or at least being marketed by Dentsu agency, and then that their influence and then their agenda is going to probably push the Dodgers with more influx of the Japanese players going to the Dodgers. And then if you're wondering why, then you will know why, because I highly recommend reading this article, and I'm going to give it a very, very deep dive into this, because Dentsu is a company that has been very, very controversial over the years with their business practices,
Right.
not just in Japan, but also globally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at that, Steven. Sounds very interesting. As I mentioned back before on a previous show, back in the aughts, when Dan Duquette was a general manager with the Boston Red Sox, he had a very good pipeline of players from Asia, of Korea, and Japan to the Red Sox, like Robinson Chacko, Sonny Woo Kim, Hideo Nomo came to the Red Sox and actually had a no-hitter with the Red Sox in 2001. We see the Red Sox, of course, don't have that pipeline anymore. Dan Duquette left the infrastructure over to Judd Hoyer, who used to be with the Red Sox, and Hoyer, as you mentioned, is now with the Cubs. So and of course the general manager Theo Epstein, who used to be with the Red Sox, who helped them get their first world championship in 86 years in 2004, and of course did the same thing with the with the Cubs. I think it was 2015, Stephen, 2016. So Theo Epstein also has a pipeline to Japan, and he left that with Jed Hoyer. So it'll be interesting to see if the Chicago and the Cubs and other teams get Japanese players. We saw Ichiro, that he went to Seattle, and what it meant for the Seattle franchise and the Seattle Japanese community there. You just can't allow the Dodgers to have a monopoly on Japanese players. You want to spread those around. Of course, the Yankees had a few of their own. Hideki Matsui, who is a big
Masahiro Tanaka as well. Just
absolutely. So you have players who have been spread all over the major leagues, but basically to those who can afford it. You want to have the Japanese players, especially if they're coming over, and Asian players, to be spread all over. They just can't be spread over to the richer teams. You want to have them go over to the other teams as well. So let's see if that happens, and that can happen. Although, as you mentioned, Rob Manfred is not the greatest commissioner of baseball. He's not. I don't want to say he's morally corrupt. I'd rather not. I just said it, but I'm not going to say that he is. I'm just going to say that he's not one of the better executives I've seen, commissioners I've seen in my time. So, but let's hope that let's hope we see a nice spreading around of the Japanese talent. They just can't go to all of one team, and they can't go to all one market, because if we remember, Ohtani went to Anaheim, which is in Southern California, and then of course this year before signed with the Dodgers, and that has of course influenced other free agents of Japan to come over and sign with the Dodgers. So we can't have all of this in one market. We need to spread them around, especially with other cities which have other markets which have great Japanese communities who would love to see Japanese players as well.
Right. As bias of a coverage that the Dodgers get, even in Japan, I just hope that the Cubs can make a name for themselves. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. The teams who are just giving up on Japan just because the Dodgers have to corner the market. Yeah, that's true, but you still have to go out there and have your own scouts do the scouting, whether it's professional or even amateur levels. And you have to build a presence there. And I think the Cubs are at least taking that first step in that direction, and hopefully try and end the gridlock that they have on the Japanese market. And the only way to do that is, if they can actually put up a decent fight against the Dodgers in the next two games. So I'm very, very curious to see how the Cubs play against the Dodgers. The starting tomorrow morning, and then they have a 2-game series which concludes on a Wednesday morning. All right, Ken, let's kind of wrap it up a little bit. Any other stories you're kind of interested in doing a final word?
Yeah, we didn't mention the NCAA Women's Tournament, which also starts this week, Stephen. The 4 seeds there. The 4 top seeds, of course, are USC, the overall number 1 seed, South Carolina, the number 1 seed, Texas, and then USC. UConn is a dangerous number 2 seed that is going to be out in Spokane as well, Stephen. And I would not be surprised to see UConn going to the Final Four against USC. They are projected to and don't forget last season, the first matchup between Paige Beckers and Juju Watkins in the Elite Eight, it was UConn that eliminated USC to go to the Final Four. They are on a projected path to do that again in Spokane. So I don't think that USC wants to. And earlier this season, in the regular season, USC got a little bit of a revenge, beating UConn, this time over in Gampel Pavilion. we'll see if they meet again in the regional final in Spokane, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. But just to see right now, South Carolina, which had some growing pains this season after coming off a undefeated season last year, Dawn Staley is motivated again. She wants to see her team win. They didn't win the SEC tournament this year. However, I wouldn't be surprised to see that the South Carolina women go to the Final Four again. They have a great opportunity. I don't know why UCLA somehow got the overall number 1 seed, even though they lost twice to USC this season and defeated the Trojans, the Lady Trojans, in the Big Ten tournament final, Stephen. So I'm going to be interested to see what happens. This is the last season for Paige Beckers to win a national championship. UConn has not won a national championship since 2016. And now that the men, I think, are not going to be winning it this year, it's time for the women to get that into that. I would not be surprised to see the women win a national championship in Paige Beckers last season. So it'll be fun to watch. Women's basketball has been fantastic. Of course, running off the coattails of Caitlin Clark last season, the ratings for women's basketball has been absolutely went up this year. So it's going to be fun to watch, and we'll see if they can outrate the men again like they did last season. The final, but it'll be a fun NCAA tournament through the next 3 weeks. Stephen, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see upsets, we'll see buzzer beaters, and we'll discuss it all as we get going over the next couple of weeks as we get into April for the Final Four.
Okay, so my final words are actually 2 of them. One, the Bengals made a huge commitment
Higgins
to signing T. Higgins and then Jamar Chase. Just an incredible amount of money that they spent on free agency, which is kind of surprising, considering how notorious frugal the Bengals have been. You're a Browns fan, the Bengals and their back history with Mike Brown and the way he conduct business.
Very cheap.
Yes. And I think it kind of goes to show, the amount of influence Joe Burrow has on that organization now. Without question, Joe Burrow is the face of the franchise. And when it's all said and done, and no matter what happens, the rest of his career, I think Joe Burrow will be the all-time Cincinnati Bengal great, number 1 overall. And you have to kind of do whatever it takes to appease him. And I know Burrow was, front and center wanting, the Bengals to bring those guys back any means necessary. I know Trey Hendrickson, who was given a permission to seek trade, according to Diana Rossetti, now is trying to lock him up as well. So, that's a huge amount of money that they're invested in 4 players for the next 4 years or so, maybe 3 years, 4 years. And it's going to be very, very interesting. The Bengals don't have a huge scouting department. I think they have one of the smallest because, as you said, Mike Brown is cheap. So I'm very curious to see how the Bengals will do in the draft moving forward, because they're going to have to nail a lot of their draft picks moving forward, whether it's, offensive line help for Joe Burrow. He's been sacked a lot since he came into the league and also suffered an injury as a result of it. So every pick that the Bengals have, not just this year, but moving forward, they really, really need to hit on those picks moving forward. And my final word is related to Chicago radio station, Ken. I'm sure you're probably aware of what I'm referring to. That was posted on Awful Announcing on your website as well. 670 The Score's Dan Bernstein got into made a threat type allegation or threat towards somebody who was picking a fight with him over the size of the fish, if I'm not mistaken, that was that he took and then posted on his X account over the weekend. His co-host Marshall Harris said that he was off the air this week, all of this week. Layla Rahimi obviously is sitting in, who is also somebody who is well known in the Chicago community as well.
Yeah, sports director NBC4, NBC5 there, right?
Yes, I believe. Yeah, she is now doing the NBC Chicago, NBC5 Chicago as well. Yes. So this is the article that was posted by Brandon Clean from your website, Ken. Dan has had some really combative moments and also somewhat of a controversial figure in the world of sports media in Chicago, and I'm sure you probably may have heard his backstory in the past as well. I wrote an article on beargoggleson.com when he revealed the one of the Bears offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle. His father was a controversial strength coach who was fired after he was accused of racism in University of Iowa, who was hired by Urban Meyer in Jacksonville. I think Bernstein kind of disparaged Declan Doyle, and then I wrote that it's not a father like son situation. So I called Bernstein out on my article in the past as well. So Ken, when you probably saw this article that came out where Bernstein is a board of director for one of the Chicago's children's hospital that treats cancers and everything. He had been dropped from their board of directors and everything. What do you think of Dan Bernstein's actions and its consequences? Somebody of his ilk.
Well, I don't know too much about the story. I know that we referenced to it. I know he's a controversial figure. He's polarizing. That's probably all much I know. I haven't really listened to him because I don't really listen to Chicago sports radio. I'm here in Rhode Island, Stephen. So all I know is from what we report on him. Probably better than I do, but to get into a fight over a size of a fish is kind of stupid and really silly. Right. And forget. And I think, and as you mentioned, the co-host said he was off all this week. That sounds like a suspension to me, knowing having been in radio myself. So, you got to know where to pick your battles, Stephen. And, you just gotta do it right. And you can't be stupid, But again,
he had a very controversial one last year too with the Barstool Jerry from Chicago. When I think one of the Barstool guys referred to him as Bernstein or something like that, and then right. He got really, really upset over that too. So he's a very short-tempered guy. You don't know what the hell sets him off, but the fact that he was referring to somebody here regarding his fish, where you at? I have your address and phone number. Want it all public? Where you at? Yeah, this is stupid, even by his standards.
You just can't do that. And
I listen. I listen to the radio, 670 The Score and ESPN Chicago because I'm a Chicago native and Chicago sports fan. I've listened to both shows, both stations. I've listened to Dan Bernstein on YouTube feed as well when he does, Bernstein and Harris. Whatever happens, it happens, unfortunately. But listen, maybe, this could be like a 1 week suspension or maybe 2 weeks, who knows? But when you post something like this on social media, Ken, that's like a ground for firing, right?
Well, yeah, you got to be careful. And one really quick thing here before we go, Aaron Rodgers has not made a decision whether he's going to go to Minnesota or Pittsburgh or retire
or the Giants or wherever is offering him. Yeah.
Aaron, just go back to the darkness retreat. Just go back, drink your ayahuasca or whatever you like to drink, and leave us alone. You're holding 3 cities hostage, 3 teams hostage. I mean, really, to be honest with you, the Vikings got rid of Sam Darnold so they can go to J.J. McCarthy. Let McCarthy. If you go there, you're going to force McCarthy to maybe force a trade, or you're going to go to Minnesota. Pittsburgh never really should have gotten rid of Justin Fields, to be honest with you. And then the Giants, I think that's probably where he's going to go because he doesn't want to root himself. And Pittsburgh, I don't know if, to be honest with you, Mike Tomlin wants to put up with the nonsense of Aaron Rodgers. So either pick a city, or just get out, really, to be honest with you, because you're holding 3 cities hostage, 3 teams hostage, and the potential future of a quarterback who was supposed to start last year, but because no fault of his own, he got hurt. He's now having to go back, and if you go there, you're going to force Minnesota's hand again. So, and he would also complete the Brett Favre trifecta of going from Green Bay to the Jets to Minnesota. So we'll see if he decides to follow Brett Favre's footsteps in that. But I'm just really tired of this story. What about you, Stephen?
Yeah. I know he said that he's hoping Minnesota will come through, and he's just basically waiting for Kevin O'Connell to offer a deal which he would take and then go to, Minnesota in a hurry like Brett Favre did. But I don't know. I think Minnesota's making a real risk, hoping for a Brett Favre, 2.0. But, Brett Favre, took the team to NFC Championship in his first year. And by his second year, he was basically done. The Dunzo, the team was just in a complete, free fall. If you remember, that was the year that the old Metrodome roof came off, which was kind of like a precursor to the rest of the season when, Brett Favre just, couldn't finish. He was sacked by Corey Wooten outdoors in a Monday night game against the Chicago Bears that ended his career. So, yeah, I have a feeling we're probably in for a similar ending for Aaron Rodgers. He might, he might have it one more year, playing in Minnesota in an indoor facility, playing against his former team, Green Bay, and maybe the team that he owns, in Chicago Bears might rejuvenate him. But it's probably only good for 1 year. That's it. But, if it's only good for 1 year, for a team like Minnesota, who won 14 games, maybe they might find it worth the risk because obviously, J.J. McCarthy is the future, but maybe his injuries aren't fully healed. And maybe they're like, I'll give him 1 more year. And if Aaron Rodgers breaks down, then we're ready to throw him into the mix, in his middle of second year. So we'll see. And I agree, this is getting so tired. And I'm sure that, the fans in all 3 cities are just ready to be done with it too. Ken, thanks for your time, as always. And thank you so much for your time tonight.
Well, thank you, Stephen. Thank you to the 82 people who watched us on our feed tonight. We'll have this ready for you at our YouTube channel, which is, of course, it's the Keng Fang Sports Channel, and you can look it up. You can find it there at Fang's Bites. You can find it right down below, right there. Thank you very much for watching. And Stephen, we have the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, both the men's and women's, starts this week. The first 4 starts tomorrow in the UD Arena in the University of Dayton, and then they start for real on Thursday at noontime. It's one of my favorite times. This is the best weekend, at least for me, until we get Major League Baseball, the postseason. It's just fantastic to see. It's fun to watch. It's fun to be there. And everyone can relate to the David versus Goliath underdog story. When you get those upsets in the first weekend, it'll be fun to watch. So we'll talk about it next Monday, hopefully, Stephen, and we'll have fun. We'll see what happens and what upsets we'll talk about, and maybe by that time, Aaron will make a decision. We'll find out.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for watching us tonight, folks. Enjoy the rest of your sports week, and we'll catch up with you again sometime next week. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, X, as you can see there on our handle there next to our names. For Keng Fang, I'm Stephen Nagishi. Again, have a great sports week. We'll talk to you again next time.